Hello and welcome to the Tales from Wales podcast powered by Joe Pitt. Myself and Steffan are joined by graffiti artist Tee2Sugars today. It's nice to have you on the show, Thomas. How's it going?
Yeah, good.
We started the shows recently, and it's a bit of an elephant in the room, really. And I got lockdown fatigue as bad as anybody, but we always ask about how lockdown is treated and how you're getting on in this period. But it seems as if lockdown has been a busy, hectic sort of time, hardly locked down at all.
Yeah, so I've had a chat with councils and things like that. They've given the go ahead. So it's I'm solely working on my own, making sure that I'm socially distancing and things like that. So yeah, lockdown it's been okay. Not bumping into people and things like that. Not attracting crowds. Not running a concert at a paint spot, So it's been okay. And I think lockdown has really helped me get my name out there and just get my artwork out there, really. So it's been helpful, really, more than a hindrance.
Well, I think lockdown is definitely, from my experience or my sort of understanding, I think I'm sort of receiving and seeing what you do like the average person would, and you should definitely propel you into my sort of more frequent conscious, because it's opportunity to do these work. But I think if you want to sort of introduce yourself, Tom, I try to use a graffiti artist. Is that how you would describe yourself?
Street artist more than anything. Graffiti artist is something that someone writes, they name over and over again, in different styles, different fonts and things like that. But I'm more of a street artist. I paint imagery rather than letters and words and things like that. So yeah, it's more of a street artist than that. So
let's focus on things like tags and that sort of thing, and more focus on the image and trying to create something visual that's a picture rather than Thomas was you sort of thing.
Yeah. So graffiti is broken into two segments, really. So you have vandalism and then you have street art. So there's a bit of the to and the fro from it. So when people are saying graffiti, a lot of people go towards the vandalism side, and then when other people say graffiti, they look at more like the murals that you see, when you drive through Bristol and things like that. You see big murals of beautiful things painted. So there's two sides to it, really. So I'm on the good side of it. Everything I do is ask for permission, and I'm not trying to be too controversial with stuff either. But
positive vibes and positive images and
there's plenty of negativity out there. If people are looking for that, that they come in the wrong place, really. Everyone gets their trolls at the end of the day. So, for instance, recent piece on the Wayne Morgan, I had a few. I know it's shocking to say, but I had a lot of hate coming from that one painting.
When you say the Wayne Morgan, for anyone listening who isn't sure, that's a pub in Harvard, Harvard is, I think it's Pontypridd technically, but it's in between Porth and Pontypridd, sort of edge of the rhomb, edge of Pontypridd. The Wayne Morgan's a pub. I walked past you and my dog when you were doing that one, Tom, but you were high up a ladder, and I didn't want to call you in case you fell off the ladder, and I was to blame for you having some sort of horrific spinal injury or a paint can going up your ass or something. But can you explain and describe that image for us? I've got some images of your work here, but that's one of the ones I haven't got. It's an NHS and World War II mural, isn't it?
Yeah, so most of my briefs are kind of loose-based. So the person or client or whatever would just give me something to kind of work off. So this one was V-Day coming around the corner. V-Day would have been the Friday. We started on the Monday, and they wanted to do. A lot of people get the misconception of this painting that it's a comparison. It isn't a comparison. It's to show appreciation, really. So from past heroes to current heroes, the NHS being the current heroes in this painting. So the army man is from World War veterans, highlighting their bravery in the time that they were fighting for our country and things like that, and fighting for our lives, to modern day heroes the NHS nurse. So that's what it was a play on. It was a play on both of them and highlighting the fact of them, like we do say thank you every day.
Yeah.
Here is something that's going to stick around for a few years to come. Even when we start forgetting, like hopefully like next year now we won't hear the word COVID-19. So these paintings I'm leaving behind are just everything to remind us of past things that happened. Like, so yeah, no, that was the conception of it all. Like, but like I said, you got internet trolls, and they all got the misconception then of it being a comparison, which obviously I've never really had an internet troll before, so I was there.
Well, I think that's a sign. Yeah, I think that's a sign that you're doing something good. I think, Tom, and that you're getting somewhere with anything, any creative sort of outlets, whether it's comedy like me and Steffan do, or art or music, whatever. If you're getting trolls, you're doing right, I think, because if you weren't relevant, they wouldn't bother, would they? So I think I take it as a compliment. So wear like a troll badge of honor.
Yeah.
Yeah, what you've been doing. I've been watching your YouTube channel. I will subscribe after this. I'm just wondering. I got two questions. Two questions. How many walls do you think you painted? So how many paintings have you done? And being a Welshman, how many dragons have you done?
I've probably done over 1,000 paintings now. Most of them, like a lot of them, get highlighted like in my my Instagram feed. So I think I'm on like 900 posts. So every post is near enough a painting. A lot of them don't make the cut. So, for instance, if a customer wants something that I don't want to paint, and then they just say, "Oh, can you put, I don't know, a pixie next to a dragon?" It just doesn't work. Like, and I painted it, they're happy, but I'm not. So that doesn't make the cut for me. Like, so, but yeah, so about 1,000 paintings. But I've only done 2 dragons.
That's surprising. Only 2 dragons.
Really?
Yeah.
Because I thought everything in Wales has to be dragon or millennium attached to it. That's basically how we operate, isn't it? But you said about like sort of the brief from a customer or client and permission as well. Like, is it tricky getting permission to do these large murals in what is it? Even if it's a privately owned, perhaps somebody's house, it's in public, isn't it? So is there a lot of sticking points and difficulty there?
Yeah and no. So basically, because I've got a background in signage. So if, for instance, you're putting up a sign on a shop front and that is next to some traffic lights or a zebra crossing, if you're going to put something illuminated up, it's going to attract someone's eye, for instance, and then take their concentration away from what's in front of them, like a driver and things like that. So so there's a bit of a grey area there. But painting someone's house, if I was to go out and paint the side of my house now in pink, no one can stop me from painting my house pink.
Right.
In Merthyr is notorious house that is painted purple, and it keeps getting painted with like graffiti tags on it, left, right, and centre. I've approached them about painting a mural on the side for free, just because these people come along and they tag and everything. But for some reason, if you paint something that's really like smart or like something that's nice in like graffiti terms, they kind of leave it alone. So I don't know what it is why they leave it alone, but they tend to do that. Like, so yeah, I've done some notoriously bad areas for like underpasses. One in Anderson Harrod War Memorial Park, which is known to a lot of people as Ponty Park. I painted that 2 years ago. Hasn't got a single tag. The area was covered in tags beforehand. Not a single one there now. It's just weird.
So it's interesting, and like I'm assuming from what you said, you go back and perhaps look at or revisit some of your work at certain times. And why do you think people do that then? Is it because you've done something nice and you think, oh, I don't want to spoil it. I don't want Tee2Sugars to be after me? No,
there are rules. So I always forget them, but so a tag can go over a tag,
Right.
And then what's called like a throw up or a bomb, they call it. So it's like a simple fill with an outline that can go over a tag. Then you can do a throw up, which is like something that's a little bit more intricate, a little bit more detailed, and things like that. And then finally, then a piece. So the only way to go over a piece is by putting another piece up, and it's called a piece for a masterpiece. So to go over someone else's masterpiece, you have to then do a masterpiece. You can't just tag over it. That's the hidden rule of graffiti.
Yeah.
And then that's how like wars start between rival gangs. So you'll get Jeff from, I don't know, Cardiff Massive, and then you'll get Bob from Swansea Massive, and then Jeff will go over Bob's piece of work with a tag, and then they'll just go after the people's work then. Like, but that doesn't really happen a lot around here. You've got places like Miami and places where graffiti is big, much bigger than what it is around here. Like, so that's when that's what gangs are then. So we don't have to worry about that in Merthyr Tydfil.
But you sort of, there is these sort of places in the world that are perhaps synonymous with street art and graffiti, which I know yours is leaning the street art sense. Like for me, like I always think of New York and perhaps integrated with the hip hop scene as well. And when I went to Paris, there seem to be loads and loads of graffiti art in Paris. Are there any particular places in the UK that are quite sort of prevalent and quite sort of synonymous with graffiti on the UK scene? Well,
Bristol.
Yeah.
You got your Banksy, and everybody says, "Oh, you Banksy." It's just a thing. You've got to take it on the chin. And I keep telling people I'm a 30-year-old ginger man, not a Bristolian 50-year-old, that no one knows. But so it's quite funny that way. Like, but Bristol's a big one. London, there's a lot in Birmingham and Manchester. And then Leicester's another big one. Leicester has a lot of graffiti artists fly into their area once a year. Okay. Like Upfest. I don't know if you're probably more familiar with Upfest in Bristol. So
it's like a street art festival, is it?
Yeah. So not far from Bristol Suspension Bridge, there's like an area there. I'd have to find the name really, but there's a street there.
Stokes Croft.
Is that it? Yeah, so they get massive artists come all over to paint there, and I try to go every year. I've been for the last 2 years. I applied to paint this year, but obviously that got cancelled. But so I'm just trying to this year. Really, I'm trying to like push out and do more pieces rather than in Wales. Like I have a shed ton up through the Rhondda Valleys now.
Yeah,
I'm guessing if you go into any gym these days. In the Rhondda, you'll come across a piece from me. So I've been painting for like 12 years now, and the majority of my work is in a gym. So
I think sort of the generic gym one is like something smashing through the wall. That's usual. Sort of whether it's like the Hulk or some other sort of strength, image of strength smashing through. That's a typical one. Yeah, but so this Upfest, you said you were sort of hoping to paint on it. Is it almost like a musician playing at Glastonbury or a comedian at Edinburgh Festival, that sort of thing? Is it? So you got to be sort of booked onto it or have permission to do so?
Yeah. So I applied last October, and then I was shortlisted, and then they said that obviously because you're not far away, because you're obviously only in. Was it an hour and 20 to get to Bristol?
Yeah, from Merthyr, hour and 20, I imagine.
But so if they got a cancellation for someone, but you go and you paint, sides of buildings. There's if you was to drive, if I was to Google the street name, if you was to drive up there, there changes every single year for Upfest, and then they use the stadium as well. So everyone was set up like boards along the stadium. A bit like Cardiff, Millennium Stadium. Oh, well, Principality now. If you go the one side where there's Holiday Inn, there's like a graffiti area, which you can just go and
the stadium, Colin.
Yeah, there's a legal area there, though, so you can just go and spray paint. So it's the same then in Bristol. For the Upfest, they use all the legal walls, and then there's a couple of bars and pubs and things like that. They offer up their walls. And then you get allocated a space, and hopefully your fingers crossed for a wall rather than a board, because a board will get taken down after the festival, and your work will stay up for a year. But yeah, I find that painting like houses and things like that a year now in like they done painting in Gatley not so long ago. That was like a nurse as an angel. Like that's a massive following, and loads of, I just get a message on a daily just saying like tag people taking a picture with it, and that's the weird part of it all now. I've never really had any of that because before lockdown my clientele was gyms. So like I said, if you go in any gym up through South Wales, really, yeah, like I've gone as far as like Llanelli to paint the gym. You don't get a lot of people in the gym taking selfies with your work and then send it to you. But when it's out in public, it's just been bonkers. Like the amount of people that are like, I love your work, sending a picture of it. And then it's just, I've since, I think it was like April, the bookings have just been phenomenal. Like I put out a post 2-3 days ago that are booked now second week of December.
So that's what it's all about, though, isn't it? Getting about there and creating a profile. But I'm glad you mentioned the angel, the NHS sort of nurse. I think some people as well, I've noticed, have been doing sort of like walks around the local area, trying to sort of, and try and pass you pieces as they go around. But I'll drop the angel on the screen now. If you want to tell us about it. So sorry, Steph, I put it over your face. I do apologise. So this
it's fine.
Gatley in Rhondda Fawr.
Yeah.
So this was something you were asked to do by a member of the public on their house?
Yeah, so Amanda and Paul had seen the Wayne Morgan pub that I painted with the army man and the nurse. They seen that, and then they were like, we want to put something here that's gonna, stand the test of time. And Amanda's mum works in the NHS as well, so she was like, I want to put something together, to one, to remind people this is what's happened, and two, to commend the NHS and what they've been having to deal with more than, like normally they deal with a lot of stress, people coming in with like illnesses and things like that. With all this on top, like, it's an added stress. Like I said, my wife is a nurse, and if you look at any of my nurses, they're all brunettes, and without anybody actually knowing, it is my wife.
Oh, right, okay. So the lady in this image here now, she's got a face. It's quite small, but she's got a face shield on. She's got like very large angel wings. She's looking after quite a fit-looking old man, to be honest.
Yeah, George Best.
He definitely he lifts, bro. But that is your wife there in the picture.
Yeah. So the actual picture they use for references is Amanda and Paul. So Paul is the reason why he kind of looks kind of fit is because he's in his early 50s, and obviously that's him there. But obviously, I've just put a bit of white hair just to make him look a bit older. But yeah, I've tweaked the nurse then, so that is I base my nurses around my wife. Like, so if you look at the Wayne Morgan Club in Traverd, there's a brunette there, and the back of that nurse is actually my wife painted there. I done another one where it's a nurse spray painting a rainbow, and that is my wife again. So yeah, without telling people who it is, I just say, it's just a nurse, but to me, I know who it is. Like, so.
But it's nice to have that, isn't it? Because like the big thing with Banksy, and I'm sure like you hear his name all the time, and I'm sure it's frustrating because there's many other street artists who are perhaps of equally as impressive. But the thing with Banksy is no one knows who Banksy is, do they? That's his sort of his shtick, as it were. And you were secretly popping your wife up on the wall, or so I like that. It's a nice little picture. Steph. He's back.
Have you ever done any of these like pieces? Yeah, he's back. Yes. Have you ever done any pieces for people and they haven't been happy with the final thing? I was like, that's not what I asked for.
No, it's always the opposite. So I always get like someone asks for something, and then they kind of think it's going to be cartoon version. And I tried to make it look as realistic as or as near enough bang on as I can, like, you know. So, and bang on means accurate. If no one really understands, but yeah, as accurate as I can to a picture that they've either supplied or that we've discussed. So, yeah, no, never really. Well, I was a little bit scared recently. I'd done a bodybuilder called Phil Heath. He's won a bodybuilding show called Mr. Olympia 7 times, won numerous other contests and things, and they flew him over to pay, to visit 7 gyms in the UK. And he was coming to Treforest to go to Pacific Fitness, and he was doing a reveal, so we covered the painting over. And I didn't have much of a time scale with it. So the gym owner, Ali, messaged me on Thursday, said, we got Phil Heath coming on Wednesday. Can you paint him? And I said, right, how big is he going? He said, 23 foot tall. I was like, right. It's a bit of a task, you know, day job and everything at this point. So I was working through the nights, doing my day job and trying to get this painting finished. And there's nothing more nerve-wracking than revealing a painting to someone that is supposed to look like them and them going, oh, that doesn't look like me. Yeah. So I just hid in the back, like right in the back, and the gym was full for this event. They back then, no social distancing. There was about 200-300 people videoing and photographing this thing to happen. And they pulled the curtain down because it was held up by like little pegs and stuff. So they pulled down, it fell down, and it revealed him. And he was gobsmacked. And in my head, it was just like, you need to get this right. Otherwise, it's just going to go dead silent in the room. It's going to be really awkward. So, yeah, when that was the most nerve-wracking of paintings and probably one of my best that I've done. But, yeah, no, I've never really had to go the opposite way. So, thank God.
So that's, sort of... So Phil didn't know that, but did you get asked to paint a lot of celebrities? Yeah.
So even recently, so Monday, Tuesday, I had a gym booked in for Pontardawe, and I painted Flex Lewis.
Yeah.
Now with the pictures,
bodybuilder.
Yeah. Flex Lewis is another 7-time Mr. Olympia winner from Port Talbot. And I was asked to paint him. Now, the pictures that people would have seen that this come out on doesn't really make it look accurate, like that it looks exactly like him. But unless you're in the room, because there's a reflection with one of the lights, and it's right on his face, and it doesn't matter where you take a picture from, the reflection comes up. But when you're in the room, it's like a photograph. I must have spent maybe 8 to 9 hours alone just painting his face because I needed to get that accurate. And like I said, do you ever get anyone come in and say, "Oh, I'm not really happy with that"?
Yeah,
I put that time in to make sure that it's as accurate as it can possibly be. I'm not sometimes I underestimate the time scale. So I'll book in for 2 days for the paint, which I did with that one, and I did 24 hours straight because I had another painting the next day, which I had to go and do. So I don't have enough time to do the revisits to keep painting. So it was like a 20-hour sit-in, a 22-hour sit-in, just to get one bit done, really. So yeah, so it was a drag and added.
Painting 22 hours straight through.
Yeah.
How do you manage that? What's sort of a normal time scale from planning a piece through to completion?
Start at 9, finish at 5. Genuinely is.
And what sort of process goes into that then? Because when I walked past you with my dog that time, you were putting loads of numbers on the wall. So I assume it's creating some sort of pattern or scheme to follow, maybe. But what was that for then?
So the letters and numbers is a technique called doodle gridding.
Right.
Now, I'm glad you pointed this out because a lot of people ask me about this. I don't know if you ever learned this in art class when you were in school or whatever. So if you've got a small image, So on like a piece of A4 paper, and you're trying to scale that up to a bigger piece of paper, you would grid the paper. So you'd grid your image, A1, A2, A3, and so on. But instead of me just gridding a wall, just do loads of squares on it, I'll do where I need to do the proportions right. So where I need to do, for instance, people, I will write letters and numbers, take a picture of that letters and numbers, and then I'll mask the two images together. So then I can use, as for instance, we've used the alphabet A to Z. I know that in D and E, that is where the head is going to be. Right. And then if you move down the alphabet, then so say M and L will be the torso area, or maybe the hips, and then Z and X, Y, and Z will be the feet. So I'll know that the proportions then are correct. So instead of me just sketching out over and over and over and over again the same image just to get the proportions right, it's a little bit of a cheat way, but it's how scaling works. You don't scale work up that sized with just painting it like.
And the process is the process, and also you're painting on the side of somebody's house, and you don't want to have to do it 3 or 4 times, do you? Like, I've got that nose wrong, I'm going to do that again. But like, so you mentioned sort of art and school, and I think that's most people's sort of experience of art is school, really. Like I sort of did do art in school, and I'd always go to the sort of the thing of, I'm rubbish at art, I can't do art, I'm not very good at it. Like, I'm assuming, without sort of, you can tell us now, but art was obviously something you were sort of took to in school, and you think it's a lot of practice? No, it's not. It's nice that you said that. So you wasn't much of an artist in school then?
I took art as a GCSE, but I was more sport. So, like Drew, we've played rugby together. Yeah. I was going to go more the sports side of it. And then art just dropped on my lap, and it was kind of a weird one, really, because a friend from school said, come to college, see what they got for you there. And then we happened to walk through the art department, and they, art from school to college is completely different. A lot of stuff in schools are just working with paper and, paintings and things. But when you go to college, you dealt with like graphic design, you dealt with ceramics, life drawing. There's loads more that you could branch out then to loads of different other things. And that's what, like, obviously I had a little bit of artisticness to me the whole time, but I just thought I was going to go down like PTing or maybe a PE teacher or coaching even. And then, this came out, and I was thinking, well, a year gap doing this in college, see where it goes. And that's when I came across Banksy. So there was a project to paint light. So it was like a lot of people did photography for this one, because, you can play with the light sources and things like that with photography, where I was looking into Banksy. So Banksy's work is all like political, and there's a lot of like depth to the thought behind his work, but the actual process of it, he's painting light. So with a stencil, you cut the shadow away, you spray that in, and it creates the image. You spray the light in the dark, and then the middle bit is made up with everything else. And then I just went down the rabbit hole of all that, and I stumbled across a guy called Digital Does. Now, Digital Does writes the word does everywhere, but he does it in such a way. It's abstract, and it's quite really hard to fathom like how he's painted these beautiful letters on the side of like a massive building and things like that. And then there's another guy then called Homber. He's the German graffiti artist, and he paints characters, and they just phenomenal pieces. Like, if you was to stand in front of it, you'd just be blown away. And then another massive inspiration then was a guy called the Meat Axe. He's an Australian graffiti artist. I really recommend anyone that's watching this, to Instagram the Meat Axe. Have a look at his work. He does bodybuilders in gyms. That's all he does. They are, second to none, the best images you will ever see. And they're mind blowing. Like, and he's recently just done a documentary saying that he doesn't feel like he's painted it. And this is a quote that I picked up now, and I'll run it for the rest of my life. But when you're painting something on such a large scale, you don't paint the image. You just paint a section of that image, and that's all you're concentrating on. Like, for instance, if you're painting a nose, the nose is as big as your head. So you don't paint a nose, you just paint like a bit of dark here, a bit of light here, a bit of this, a bit of that, you know, all the mid-tone colours. But when you stand back, it's a face there, and you don't paint a face, you just paint little proportions of the face, and you paint little dots, little lines, little stripes and everything. Like, and as you stand back, there's a whole image there, and I just find it really baffling sometimes when you've painted something so close. Like I painted like an eye once, and the pupil was I don't know, as big as a car wheel. Yeah. Now, when you paint
it's not a pupil then, is it? It's not a pupil.
It's just a big black circle.
Yeah.
You know, so when you stand back, everyone goes, "Oh, how the heck did you paint it?" It was like, "Well, I just painted a big dark circle."
Yeah.
And then that's now an eye. It's really weird for me to explain. Like, but yeah, you don't feel like you've painted something like that. It's just happened.
Yeah. Steph?
How much do you spend on paint monthly?
Between £500 to £1,500 roughly. My back of my van. I wish I took a picture of my van just to show you what the back of it looks like at the moment. Like, but it's just boxes and boxes of paint, and it's just it's a bit of a mess at the moment. Like, but it's a lot of paint, and you need to carry a lot of paint because you know you could be going somewhere to do a painting, for instance, a landscape. You'll be painting it, and you realise then that in all this landscape, there's the most tiniest bit of pink. Now, when the people think of a landscape, they think in the blues for the sky, greens for the ground. They don't think of any other colours in between. But when you have a supply of loads of different colours, you've got to maybe take a pinch of everything, little colour to make up a full colour range of that image. Like, so, yeah, that's why I've got to spend so much money on paint. Most of it goes on black, because everyone needs black outlines and stuff like that. But it's just I must spend about £200 to £300 on black paint every month. So
I suppose the edges and the outlines and the shadows, and I suppose it goes into most of it. But like, is there any things that you particularly enjoy painting the most? Like, your favourite things to do, sort of whether people or landscapes or
faces? So faces is. I just love the way that they just come together, like, you know. So like, you can easily the best is when you paint a face and you go to take a picture of it, and your phone picks it up as a face, then you know you've painted it correctly. So yeah, but so the focus end will you move your camera around, and the focus end will pick up that's a face and wait to focus. So like, for instance, my artwork is faces that I simplified, but they're really hard to, like, for average people to be able to just, I could just paint that. But when they come to painting it, like, to do a photorealism for me is quite simple, but to do it, these, like, I call them vector faces. So, for instance, if you have a highlight on your face, you draw like a hard line around the highlight instead of having it blend. Right. So everything is kind of like sharply cut and stuff, and it's more graphic based. So that's kind of like my background is more graphic design based, and I try to, like, get everything in to, like, fall into that kind of thing. Like, so, but yeah, faces is my main one. I love faces. They just
You did a Liam Gallagher one a couple of weeks ago or 2 weeks ago, possibly. I'm assuming it was a private commission, but I'll just pop it on the screen now. So I think I gather somebody's back garden, but sort of, to be honest, it looks sort of photographic quality is superb. But so is how you could you sort of talk us through that now in terms of, like, you said about the different sort of
so face. But, like, for instance now. The smaller face is the hardest. So smaller you go with spray painting, the harder it becomes. So the one far left is like Liam looking straight out. It doesn't really. I didn't really get many pictures of this because I was on a short time scale. So as soon as I finished, I needed to get out today. So I got one picture, which is this one. But the Liam Gallagher face on the left, there's more. It's this stubble in there, which you can't see from this image, and obviously the lighting is cutting through it. But to structure that is, to me, is pretty simple. But to get a painting to look like a person is a lot harder than people really fathom. Like, for instance, like you paint a face up on it, it could look like it's had a stroke. So it could be like lopsided and things like that. But when you get it smack on, when you get it to look like a person, and people come in and go, "Oh my God, it's Liam Gallagher," straight off. There's a real sense of achievement there. Like with, I've done it correctly for one, and two, it is supposed to look like Liam Gallagher. Like, obviously a lot of people said it was Noel, but with a painting these days, sometimes it can look like slightly someone else. But I've got a Gallagher down.
Yeah, well, they're brothers, aren't they? So
yeah.
I'm sure they do look similar. Do you know what I mean? But I think there's a wall behind your house. Now, I don't know if I got that wrong. If I got that wrong, correct me. That you sort of use as a bit of a space for yourself when you rotate what you put on there. Yeah. It seems as if it's sort of a hero wall. I don't know if it's the current image. Kind of, you've got Paul Barzi, who's a musician in Tidville. We've been doing some fantastic work fundraising for NHS, doing live streams every Saturday. So I think that's pretty valid and pretty sort of qualifies for your hero wall. But what's your sort of process then? Like, how do people qualify to be on your Tom's hero wall?
Well, the walls have stopped now because I've been so busy. But I've still got Captain Tom Moore. I can see him through the window here in the conservatory. So he's in my garden. He's too valuable to put out on the street because, we're not far from the Gurnos up here. So there are some people around that will happily come up here and deface it. So I've kept it in the garden, and hopefully now next year he's going to go be displayed somewhere in Merthyr. But the hero wall was so Karen Williams, I think that's what her name was another person that I painted. She was a part of she didn't know the painting was going to happen. Neither did Paul Barzi. They were all nominated by anonymous people, so they both want to be left anonymous. So Paul Barzi was obviously brought up to me because obviously he was doing a live stream in his garden every week just to try and raise money for PPE for the NHS, and that one was kind of a weird story. That one is because he was doing it on a Saturday and I got approached on the Friday. Can I do it by Saturday? And I was like, right, okay, I can do it, but I've got like 3 other paintings to do at the same time. I'll squeeze it in. So the wood turned up for the boards because I said to them, like, if you could just supply the boards, I'll paint them. So the boards turned up at 12 o'clock. He started at 6 o'clock. So I had to try and get it finished by 5 o'clock to get it down before his gig started. So he has that painting now in his garden as his backdrop. So I had 5 hours to paint it. The boards weren't prepped. You normally got to paint them with masonry paint first, so you have a layer of paint to work with. And so that was a real rush job. But it was against the cuff. It came off. But to qualify, it was just I had loads of stories, and I mean like hundreds and hundreds of stories. As soon as I did the Paul Barzi, it was kind of really hard to choose anymore because. There were some really heartfelt stories, and then there were some other ones that were just a bit. My friend has been making masks, and then I'd love to have painted every single person, but there's only a certain amount of hours in the day. At the time, my wife was still working. She's been made on furlough now because she's pregnant, so the NHS don't really want them in work if you're pregnant and stuff with COVID, and. So when she was working, I had the baby. and vice versa. So yeah, I had 3 days a week to try and do a lot of painting. And paintings normally take, like I said, like 9 to 5. Some a bit longer, pushed on till maybe 10 o'clock at night. I know one went on till 2 in the morning, where I got my van, pointed the street light, the headlights at the board so I could finish the painting. Like, you know, you try to get stuff done. But yeah, with more and more paintings I was doing through the coronavirus, the more and more people were asking for requests, and it kind of got a bit overwhelming, really. Like, you know, and then a lot of people wanted a commission. You know, obviously we still got bills to pay and everything. So commissions kind of, I feel bad for saying this, but commissions kind of stepped above doing the hero paintings, even though I'd have loved to have carried it on. But, you know, you've got to pay bills at the end of the day. Like, I know at this point, I was out of work for coming up to near enough 2 months. Like, so, like, bills were still getting paid, but, you know, it's nice to get a bit more money in the bank behind it, really. So, commission came beforehand.
You know, you are trying to develop and create your brand as well, and whilst, you know, it is nice to do these things, unfortunately, and it's the same with 99% of people sort of creative pursuits. If the money is there, you've got to take it, haven't you? And I don't think anyone would hold that against you or sort of criticize you for that. Is there anything else you wanted to ask, Steph?
I would say the final question I would have to ask you is, I think your art holds a very powerful message. You know, why is it, do you think, that it has a powerful message? Because the subject matter is very important, but I think because you painted on these big walls, would you say more people see it and it reaches more people that way, or is it sort of side of stuff?
Yeah, I think one of the reasons is scale. So if I was to paint, I don't know, a small canvas in my living room, I think a lot of people would just be like, oh, that's nice, on to the next kind of thing. But when you've done something that not a lot of people can do, like, I know there's a lot of graffiti artists out there, there's a lot of artists, but where we are, like in the Rhondda Valleys and, you know, Cardiff and things like that, there's only a handful of people that do stuff that what I've been doing, and I think that's where the niche comes into it. But I think that, like you said, like the subject matter in it, with COVID and the coronavirus and everything, I've been doing a lot of stuff that is relevant. So, for instance, I really wanted to paint a pride image, but time and just kind of got away from me, really. But I really wanted to do a really nice big image to do with pride. But like I said, that got away from me. And then I didn't really want to go really controversial then. So obviously Black Lives Matter, there was a lot of people painting stuff for Black Lives Matter. I didn't really want to go with the controversy of it all. Like, you know, I have my opinion on the whole matter. You know, so I didn't really want to push my opinions out onto other people. You know, I just kind of gonna let that thing do its own thing. But with the pride thing, I'm really gutted I didn't get to do that. Like, you know, so. But yeah, with the Black Lives Matter is another one as well. Like, but with the COVID stuff, because everyone was affected by COVID, and you know, the more imagery that came out from that, you know, more and more people, you know, registered with it, and the scale as everything. You know, the amount of images I was doing, people were like really invested with it, and especially with the boards that I put at the back of my house. There was a lot of people coming on like 4 or 5 mile walks just to even come past my house, just to have a glimpse of one of the new paintings, because I was changing them on a daily to like every 3 to 4 days. So every 3 to 4 days, people would come in, and I've been stopped a lot lately, loading up the van for recent commissions. How come I stopped and things like that? We've walked up here from to come and see some artwork. Like, where's it all gone? And you know, I'd love to be able to keep something out the back, but you know, it attracts a lot of people, and you know, I kind of live here at the end of the day. Because, you know, I kind of want a bit of privacy, like. But hopefully now, I'm in real big talks now with Merthyr Council to get some legal walls here in Merthyr. There's nothing here at the moment. I have permission to free rein one wall, which is down by Merthyr Skate Park. So that was one of the areas I was going to do the pride painting. But like I said, I'm hopefully now going to slow down and stretch out my work rather than try to do as many paintings as possible. So hopefully I'll have some downtime to do some more work of my own, like the pride painting and stuff.
When you say a legal wall,
Yep.
can you just explain that sort of term for us?
So legal walls are somewhere where you can go and paint without having any backlash from police or councils or even the general public, because it's you are legally allowed to paint that and do what you want. So
yeah,
there's quite a few in Cardiff. I'm pretty sure there's probably around about 8 areas. I don't know all of them off the top of my head because I have never really painted any of them. Obviously, one of them is by the Principality Stadium, not far from, just around the corner from Sapphire Gardens. It's not just far from there. I think it's called Holiday Inn as well, the hotel on the end. So yeah, that's a legal zone, so you can just go and paint. So I'm trying to apply for legal zones. So at the minute, they're all illegal. So if I was to go and paint there, you need permission. And I've had, get emails. That's probably the main one. Get an email or a Facebook message to get permission if you're going to be painting somewhere. You don't want to be painting somewhere and have the old plod turn up and be like, right, have you got permission to paint this? And you say yes. You have nothing in writing. There's nothing worse than saying to someone like, oh yeah, I've got permission, and then you've got nothing in writing. So, but yeah, trying to do a lot of more legal stuff. Well, not do a lot more, but all my stuff is legal. But trying to get a legal area, and then hopefully then it inspires other people to paint. There's endless of graph artists here in Merthyr. If you just drive through the town centre, you'll see a lot of their work. But if it's a legal area, maybe they'll have the time to just stand in front of the area that they painted and paint something a bit better than Jeff was here.
Well, do you find that it's all about sort of bringing things into people's sort of conscious as well, isn't it? Like for me, graffiti is not synonymous. Sorry, street art is not synonymous with South Wales or the valleys in particular. It's a New York thing, it's a Paris thing, it's like you said, a Bristol thing. Do you find that, or do you feel that maybe like with this becoming more and more commonplace, it's something that's going to develop as a bit of a sort of subgenre of art in the local area?
Yeah. So, for instance, now I've been approached by a lady in Llanelli that she wants to do like an upfest thing. So get as many artists, even if they're graph artists or do canvas painting. Get them all coming to the area and brighten it up. There's a lot of like shut down shops where they're boarded up and things like, put in a nice bit of artwork on it, even if it only lasts 6 months until someone else moves into that shop. You're brightening up the area. You're allowing art to develop and people's styles to develop, really. Like I have my own style. Like if there was, I know there's another graph artist here in Merthyr called Dodgy. Bit of a name, but yeah, he does a lot of tagging and a lot of
I've seen his tags on like electric boxes and stuff. I've seen that about Merthyr. Yeah,
so maybe if he was given maybe a chance to come and just do a big Dodgy piece, make it look as good as he could possibly make it. Like other people will stand back and going, do you know what? That's actually like really beautiful. There's a lot of like technique in his work. There's depth in it. Like he's added like sort of like backdrop to it and a lot of foreground stuff going on. Maybe like some effects and things. Like there's a lot of things that he would be doing that I wouldn't be doing. So it's nice to get other artists in and bounce off each other then, really. So that building a community of artists and things. So hopefully now, like I'm trying really slowly to get a lot more people involved. So for instance, today now I've been painting this morning. even. I've been helping Avant Cymru, which is like an art and creative company, which they do a lot of stuff to do with stage, like, on stage kind of things. So, but they trying to like do arts things. So Rachel helped her with a little mural this morning. Give her a lot of tricks and tips. But people are saying like, well, why? Why would you help other artists? I was like, well, we all need to help each other.
Yeah, definitely.
Otherwise, other people are not going to be able to see our work. Then if for instance, if she struggled to do her mural, for instance, and it looked a little bit, people are thinking, well, why have they done that? It kind of doesn't look that good. But I've given her that help. I'm guaranteed that she would have done a brilliant job regardless. But I've given her that help and that confidence boost to say, like, you've done a brilliant job. Carry on doing what you're doing. And hopefully now if I meet another graph artist that wants to spend the time and develop their style, I'd go along and help them, and so on and so on. Like, but
I think it's definitely a merit in supporting and helping others. It's a very similar thing with comedy. I believe there's enough success to go around. You don't need to sort of try and sort of climb over each other to get to the top. You can help each other up, and if your success is street art success, and then vice versa, and it helps develop things as a whole, isn't it?
Yeah, well, like you said, like in comedy, you always have a warm-up act that isn't as well known as the main act, and there's a lot of people that go in there for the main act that would be like, obviously that you were new and up and coming, Drew, like and Steffan. They would have seen you at another gig and been like, do you know what? If you're playing again, Drew or Steffan, I'm going to go see them now. So you don't get immediate success off just being on your own. You do it by collabing with people, working with others and everything. Like, so that's what I'm trying to do at the minute. I'm hoping that it'll happen. So I know there's a fair few graph artists down Cardiff way that keep themselves to themselves. And I know a few of them, they have like a group, like a crew, or a group of them, and they just keep to themselves. Where I'm kind of on my own, but I want to help everybody out at the same time. So hopefully,
do you think that stems from the stigma with street art, though, in that it's vandalism, and there's this idea of discretion and hiding and not being known? Do you think it comes from that possibly as well? Because like Banksy being anonymous, but
exactly.
For a lot of people, street art is synonymous with vandalism and crime, isn't it? And that's not the case, obviously. Yeah.
Well, like you said, the origin for street or graffiti is New York. Now, the whole persona, the old thing, the old development of graffiti was the fact of I need my name to be seen by as many people, and that's why in New York they attacked the trains. So every train would have been
moving adverts.
Yeah. So I don't understand why advertisement companies haven't done this yet and just done Coca-Cola on the side of a train, because that train is moving. Yeah. And graffiti artists had that idea before anyone else. So, they've gone there and wrote, I don't know, Jeff was here, like we've been saying, like, or Tom was here. And then that train would go from one side of the city to the other side. And everyone's like, well, who's Tom? Why is Tom here? And then that's where it all developed from. And then that's where it was a crime. Because then you were defacing, there was a lot of it. And then it just became, obviously hip hop picked up on the old culture. It was all intertwined with each other. And then, it's always the gangster thing then, and it's just the persona of it all. But hopefully now, like over the years now, like recent years, especially with like things like Upfest in Bristol, it's brightening up a lot of areas. There's a lot of
this is why, like, I think my favorite piece I've seen of you've done is the daffodils in Porth. I'll drop on the screen now. Sorry, Steph, I've dropped the shop on your head now. It's just weird. And this for me, I really like this piece. If anyone was listening to the audio now, it's the front of a shop. The shutters are down. It's a florist, and Tom has done some daffodils on the front. Like typically and perhaps historically, that would have been done at night without permission, and the shop owner would have come to, somebody gone down to my shop now. Yeah. But it's nice because this inverts it. They've asked you to do it, and you know, even when the shop is shut, there's still flowers on display outside, and it's just a nice way of brightening up the local area, you know. And Porth, as much as I like Porth, it is a little bit run down in some respects. So I like how this is sort of taking what would have been a crime and would have been, you know, illicit and illegal, and making it something that's encouraged and requested, you know. I think again I passed you the dog when you were doing this one, but I didn't want to interrupt you.
No, but like what you're saying there, like I've had the time to sit in front of that, to paint that, to make it look as good as I can get it to look. Now, if I was to do that in the night, I'd be looking over my shoulder. You know, if for instance a police vehicle would have come past, I would have, you know, down cans and gone. You know, so the piece might not even got finished. So it's just getting people to give us a chance, like give artists a chance. There's hundreds of them out there, like, you know, all wanting the opportunity to do something. So whether or not if we get some sort of like Upfest, you know, get artists to come and prove themselves on a larger scale. You know, there's a lot of people who may think they're good, and sometimes getting them in with other artists, they can bounce off and feed, and, you know, they can get their inspiration. And, you know, like some people's skill sets ain't as good as other people's skill set, but their art and the process that they have in their head of like the subject matter might be there, but the artwork isn't. And it's the subject matter mostly, you know, about what they are painting. It might not be the like a Mona Lisa or something like that, but when you read the image, like every image is worth 1,000 words. If the subject matter is there, then you know that's where it becomes powerful. Then, no matter what it looks like.
So Tom, this has been a pleasure. We always appreciate guests giving up their time. What's next to you now? Sort of, you know, you said you sort of overrun almost with the requests and different things going on, but what's next in the sort of short term and the long term now for Tee2Sugars?
A lot of collaborations. So we've been waiting for opportunity now after lockdown to collab with other influencers. So I don't know, maybe you boys want to come back and do another podcast where we all do a paint together. We all get mic'd up. We all do a big paint, you know. So it's something like that, you know. It would be cool. Like, you know, you guys can understand on one, how to hold a spray can. So everyone thinks they know how to hold a spray can until they get it in their hand and start spraying. But, you know, like things like that. Like that's the next stage. Is it's being able to get in contact with people again, really, rather than being solely me, getting other influencers. So I've had a little chat with, you might all know him, ABM. Andrew Biggie Morris.
Yes, Welsh, South Wales' top social media entrepreneur.
Yeah, that's him. So yeah, I was in fact in talks with Andrew yesterday. Hopefully we're going to do a YouTube video together where we'll paint, in inverted commas, his face somewhere, you know, because to me he's a legend in his own right.
Yeah, yes.
But I think he's just been to Birmingham this weekend, and he's had a lot of people taking pictures with him. You know, he's a face and a personality. You know, so. Yeah, like things like that. So we're going to be working together hopefully soon. Just trying to find a location really for a painting. And then obviously when lockdown restrictions do end, you know, we can start working together a bit more. I've had some small chats with another influencer. Jess Davis is a model and does stuff for S4C. She talks a lot about body image and things like that. So I try to maybe do like a video with her where we paint. Maybe if we paint someone on the wall that isn't particularly beautiful, but everybody in their own right is, and we paint a face together and something like that, and we talk about like body image and you know, people's perceptions with Instagram and Facebook and things like that. You know, we talk about these issues, you know, and that's what I'm trying to bring to my YouTube channel is hopefully both stuff like that rather than just me just painting. But that's the next step is collaborations and things like so.
And if anyone wants to get in touch or sort of look up your art in any way, how can people reach you?
Just Google Tee2Sugars. I'm quite proud of that now that I've had a few news outlets and things like that report on some of my paintings. So yeah. Tee2Sugars, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, all of them handles. Luckily, it's not a name everybody wanted to claim, so I've been able to claim it for myself. So
well, the spelling helps as well, doesn't it? If you spell a word wrong or in a different way, it's more likely to be unique to you then.
Yeah.
Tom, T, this has been fab, mate. Thank you very much.
Always. Thank you.
Send the
Thank you.